Hello and welcome to my channel. Bonsoir et bienvenue sur ma chaîne. My name is Muriel and this evening I will be doing a sort of unplanned book haul video because, well, lucky for me, I came into some extra funds and also I received a few books as gifts, both for St. Nicholas and for Christmas. In my family we do gifts on Christmas Eve. So yeah, I have a nice pile of them, about 20, or exactly 20 in total, so I thought I would share that with you because who doesn't like to revel in new books, am I right? So first I'm going to start with a couple of books I've actually already read, and then two more that I will be reading this week, and which I will then also mention in my December and end of year wrap-up videos. So we have books of graphic non-fiction in French, one about Homo sapiens, the evolution of humankind on Earth, and one about the political philosophy of anarchism. I've mentioned this series of comic books a couple of times now. I will be doing a video dedicated to this series in the coming days before the end of the year. So quickly, I really enjoyed this one. I was a wee bit disappointed by that one, but I'll talk about them more in a future wrap-up video. And so this week I will be reading the third one I bought, which is this one. It's about adolescence, quite simply, sociologically, biologically, etc. See, I already have my little bookmark in it. And this one I bought because I'd seen it recommended on another booktuber's channel. She said it was a good little summary of the science and the common sense wisdom regarding nutrition. And it is Food Rules by Michael Pollan, a very well-known author in the subject. I never read anything by him. I just saw the Netflix documentary adaptation of his book, Cooked, which was very interesting. And I've leafed through this already, and I love it that it's just so short. It's just basically a bunch of rules about nutrition. About 65 of them. This is going to be read really quickly, and I figure that I probably know, and goodie points for me, apply a lot of them already, but still I like that, you know, they're all in one convenient little place, and here too you can see I've already done my little bookmark. So yeah, I'll definitely mention this in my December wrap-up as well. Now I'll be moving on to my non-fiction titles. So most of these were just books I had on my written TBR for 2020, but I came into some extra funds, like I said, and so I just picked those that I could find secondhand / the cheapest. So first we have Are We Smart Enough to Know How Smart Animals Are by Frans de Waal. He is a very well-known and respected primatologist who specializes in bonobos, I believe. And this, I think, is basically a book about ethology, the current data on animal cognition, animal behavior, emotional life, etc. It's just the kind of thing I love. I have a couple of books on this subject already, but I wanted something a bit more recent. And yeah, it seemed like a good choice. Mentions a lot of different animal species, including bird ones, so that's always a plus for me. Then I got this big thing, the Feminism book. So recall that I actually have a book in this publishing series, the mythology book. I mean, it was good, it wasn't the best, but I like the fact that there are like lots of different books in that series on lots of different subjects. And I've also mentioned in a few other videos that I haven't read much classical feminist theory. I mean, I've read bits and pieces there, but so I wanted like a compendium, a nice reference book on the subject, and to perfect my already existent knowledge base. And this looks really, really nice. Plus, I love the formatting of this. That's one of the really positive aspects I'd found in the mythology book, so I'm going to take my time reading this probably in January. For January, I plan on rereading the Song of Ice and Fire novels in audiobook form. But then I'm also going to read like graphic novels and non-fiction alongside that. Perhaps short stories as well. I'm gonna see. And also a book I found recommended on a fellow booktuber's channel, Women in Science. And this is an illustrated book about female scientists, well-known and lesser well-known, I think more of the latter. So that's great because sadly, I think my knowledge of them is pretty poor overall. I know the big names, but I rifled through this and yeah, there's a lot of individuals I don't recognize at all. And the art style is just phenomenal. Like, look at this. And it's things like that. That's my jam. Like the graphic design, the illustrations. It's such a beautiful book. So excited to read this one. And I know the author has one on women in art as well, and women in sports, but I really don't give a single toss about sports. But women in art, that one interests me, but I can't actually get it where I am yet. It's already published in the States, I think, but I guess, I don't know, it's not published in the UK or wherever I get my English language books from. So I'll have to wait next year, but that's fine. And then 2 books that were gifts, quite simply, and nothing from pre-existing wish lists, so just gifts for Christmas. So this was gifted to me by a close friend. It's quite a short book about, well, ornithology from what I could tell, because he knows I love birds. So it's a little treatise on ornithology and the importance of birds in the ecosystem, I think, and yeah, trying to defend them in the face of, you know, mass extinctions and environmental destruction and things like that. So curious about this one, but this should be enjoyable. And this one I'll probably also read in January. And then this was a gift from my half-brother and his family over in the States, so thank you to you. This, a brief history of everyone who ever lived, and from what I gathered, this is a book about genetics, or like genetic anthropology, population genetics. It's a human story retold through our genes, so I guess it looks at different stages in human evolution through genome analysis, something like that. So I'm really happy about that. I've never really read a book about genetics, either directly or indirectly. I've had a genetics course in university, but I've never really sought it out in my non-fiction reading. So thanks for that. Seems really interesting. And now on to fiction. So the first sub-batch is, well, yeah, they were just books on my 2020 TBR I thought I'd already get because I could find them relatively cheap. I buy most of my books secondhand unless I'm really specifically looking for a particular edition, and I get really nitpicky about that. If I can only find it new, I buy it new. I'm shallow about that, I admit. So we have Vox by Christina Dalcher. This is a feminist dystopian novel. I don't know, I think the premise sounded interesting. This is about restricting women's speech, literally. I mean, I've been burned recently with feminist, well, like I said, I didn't really think it was that feminist dystopia with The Power by Naomi Alderman, but yeah, I'm kind of a sucker for that genre, so I'm just gonna try this and we'll see what's what. And then we have Kraken by China Miéville. I read The City and the City by Miéville. I liked it. I wasn't blown away like I was blown away with the Southern Reach trilogy. And I mean, I read Miéville because I read Jeff VanderMeer, so one led to the other. So it didn't wow me like Jeff VanderMeer's writing, but I did like it. I liked that it was very original, very different. And in any case, I was like, yeah, I want to try something else by him. I think it's promising. So on my TBR, I have Embassy Town, and then this. I got this because this was the cheaper of the two I could find at the time I bought it. It sounds weird, and then I think there's like a giant squid in this, and I love me some cephalopods. So I heard from Rachel over on Pollan that Embassy Town is even better than The City and the City, and it's about also like alien communication and linguistics, so I'm really excited for that one as well in 2020, but this should be fun as well. Then we have, in a nice science fiction masterworks edition, Grass by Sheri S. Tepper. The only other book I've read by her is The Gate to Women's Country, which I really enjoyed, so it made me want to try something else by Sheri S. Tepper. Again, Rachel from Carnardi said that this isn't so good, that actually the sequel to this, or the second installment in the series, or the trilogy, is better, Raising the Stones. I mean, the story sounds interesting, so I'm going to read this. If I like it, I will obviously be reading Raising the Stones. If I don't like it so much, I will still try Raising the Stones, because I'm curious. Though apparently the third one in the trilogy is, well, pretty poor, so I'm not even gonna bother with that one, I think. And finally, because I actually needed it, next year I plan on rereading all of my Chronicles of Pern books. But I was missing this one because this is one of the only books in my entire life that I've DNF'd. I never finished this and I got rid of my copy, but I'm going to reread the books I kept and I just want to finish it because this is like the chronological end of the series, like, spoilers, sorry, but basically dragons and dragon riders have managed to get rid of the threat of Thread, if you're familiar with the universe, and this looks at the potential consequences of that, and I never finished it, so I have to finish it. So I got a nice little second-hand copy that goes along with my other Corgi Press editions. So yeah, I actually just needed this one. And then the second sub-batch of fiction books, these were retail therapy purchases. I wasn't feeling well at all, you know, brainworms and such. So, and I had some money left over from my yearly budget, so I was like, oh, screw this, I'm gonna buy me some more books. So I had eyed this one before when I bought my copy of At the Mountains of Madness by H.P. Lovecraft, which I've read this month and I'll mention in my wrap-up. I saw that in the Penguin English Library there was also another classic horror title, but the kind of horror that I would like. It's The Great God Pan by Arthur Machen. Seemed interesting, and actually I didn't realize this upon purchasing it, but it's not just The Great God Pan in this, there are actually 2, 3, 4 short stories. So, awesome. Nice little surprise there. And because, okay, again, Rachel, you're not good for my wallet because I'm getting way too many suggestions off of your channel. There are too many things I want to read now. But to be fair, I was already aware of the existence of this story and the story collection it belongs to. And I loved the movie that was like an adaptation of the central story. Stories of Your Life and Others by Ted Chiang. Arrival was an amazing sci-fi movie. So, you know, it was like on the book depository and I was like, plus short stories, like I said, I mean, I'm going to reread or listen to A Song of Ice and Fire in January, but then I thought, you know what's a good thing to do alongside that? Or just for next year in general, is get into short fiction, especially in the science fiction genre. So this fits perfectly in that project, if you want to call it. So yeah, I'm really excited to get my teeth into this. And following the theme of short story collections / anthologies, I got this. Sisters of the Revolution, a collection of feminist speculative fiction curated by Anne and Jeff VanderMeer. Again, this sounds like right up my alley. I saw this on Rachel's bookshelf tour. I was like, ooh, what's that? I mean, curated by Anne and Jeff VanderMeer, that's already a great stamp of approval, but then like, feminist speculative fiction anthology. Ooh, yeah, sign me up for that. And there are a few names I recognize. A lot more I don't, so that's really exciting. I mean, Angela Carter, Ursula K. Le Guin, obviously. In fact, I checked. The story in there is one I've already read, but that's fine. James Tiptree Jr., I know of her. I've never read anything by her. Joanna Russ, I've read The Female Man. Tanith Lee, I've heard of, but not familiar with her work at all. Vandana Singh also rings a bell. Octavia E. Butler, yeah, I've read Parable of the Sower and Parable of the Talents and Kindred. Those were really good books. Nnedi Okorafor, again, I've heard of her on Rachel's channel. Angelica Gorodisha as well. Pat Murphy. I mean, no, this looks like a solid collection. I'm really happy I got this. And finally, I got some graphic novels. Or I guess in the English-speaking world, they're like comics, but then they're, you know, regrouped in collection volumes or omnibuses. I think they're a bit too thin to be called omnibuses. I don't really understand how comic publishing works in the English-speaking world. I'm more familiar, ironically, in this instance with the French-speaking world. But in any case, since I did get into graphic fiction a bit late, like around the age of 18, 19, and in that respect, I do read more French graphic fiction, but I was like, you know, I know next to nothing about what's out there, apart from stuff like Marvel comics and superheroes, which does not interest me in the slightest. I do know of like big graphic novels like V for Vendetta or The Sandman, stuff like that. So yeah, I looked around. I saw this. I had heard of this. Why the Last Man, which is dystopian. I think a virus kills every single mammal with a Y chromosome. Except for one dude, and I guess his monkey, and what happens to him in the aftermath. So that sounded really interesting. I have to admit though, the art style, not my thing at all. So that's a wee bit disappointing. I mean, this is like classic American comic style, which really doesn't speak to me terribly. But the story sounds really interesting, so I'm willing to put that aside and just enjoy the story. These are all just first volumes. I'm gonna try these. If I enjoy them sufficiently, I'll consider getting the other volumes. I got this. This is called Sex Criminals. I got this because the premise sounded really goofy and fun, but it's apparently also quite serious. It's a guy and a woman, they meet for like a casual hookup, and they realize that when they have an orgasm, they freeze time. And then with that, they decide to rob banks. So, I mean, it's not purely erotic, though there is sex in this, and it does talk about sexuality, but yeah, I don't know. Sounds interesting. Don't know what I'm gonna make of it, but I'm gonna try. And then, now this, art style wise, this is my jam. Monstrous by Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda. I actually saw this suggested on Goodreads. Pure happenstance. It said that it was about a future Art Deco steampunk matriarchy thing with monsters, and first of all, that's a great great bait for me. But then the artwork is absolutely gorgeous. This is 1000% my style of digital art. Very promising. And then finally, this was on my Christmas wish list, and my parents got this for me for Christmas. It's the second volume of the graphic novel adaptation of A Clash of Kings. Yes, I'm that big of a Song of Ice and Fire nerd. I read the graphic novel adaptations as well. I have all the previous volumes back there in the Song of Ice and Fire cube, as I call it. I'm gonna reread the first one of A Clash of Kings after I finish listening to A Clash of Kings on audiobook. So that's gonna be fun. And that's it. I mean, I said that's it, but that's 20 books total. I should have enough reading material to kickstart 2020 pretty comfortably, I think. I'm hoping these are going to last me a couple of months, maybe 3, though I'm already eyeing stuff on my online bookstores, and I'm thinking about like going to a secondhand bookshop that actually does carry English language SFF. There's just too many freaking things I want to read on my Goodreads TBR, so yeah, we're gonna see about that. I'm not really a big Christmas person. In fact, truth be told, I'm one of those that doesn't like Christmas at all, and this year has not been a good one for me, so let's just say that grief, depression, anxiety don't make for a great festive spirit. That being said, I know it's a very important time of year for a lot of people, probably most people, so whatever you celebrate, Christmas, Hanukkah, the winter solstice / Yule, or whichever other religious, spiritual, secular festival you prefer, I hope you have a nice one. I hope it's positive, enjoyable, filled with love, generosity, contentment, all the good things. In the meantime, I hope you have a lovely day, a lovely Christmas day, or a lovely Christmas evening, whatever. And I shall see you in the next video. Bye bye.